listening to America First Radio.
And we're gonna win, win, win. And we're gonna make America great again.
Here is your host, Paul Adams.
If I'm going to open up this show with any message, it would be get ready, stock up on food and water. Get ready, better safe than sorry, okay? May not be World War III, but it could be a major disruption in the food chain due to street violence, an EMP strike, false flag, any number of events that would unfold. That's number one. That's out of the way. Now, in this episode, I want to take a wide-angle lens and look at what we're facing here, okay? If you're focusing on the speeches and the policies alone, you're missing what's going on behind the curtains. And I've got too many people to thank here on the information I've been able to harvest. Then we have a Podesta email leak that shows that the left has set up fake Catholic organizations to make religious beliefs conform to the left's platform. In another leak, the Clintons promised to take Algeria off the terror list once their check has cleared. There is evidence now that Brian Fallon, the press secretary for Hillary Clinton, colluded with the Department of Justice during the Clinton email investigation. There's an email that she will ultimately endorse TPP. There's a leak that Hillary coordinated with the State Department on the email scandal. Now, we'll come to more leaks in a minute here, okay? But Jill Stein has just endorsed Trump. That's big. She has demolished Hillary in a double broadside, saying Hillary would start a nuclear war. Now, will we ever see Jill Stein on the MSM again? Very doubtful. I think Trump should bring her on to his rallies, frankly, and along with her 127 supporters. Unless she pulls a Paul Ryan on us, right, and makes tracks as soon as she figures there's another smear coming on Trump. But the truth is leaking every day as we speak. There's more coming out, and it's going to drip, drip, drip right up to the election. All of the 33,000 deleted Hillary Clinton emails are to be released on November 1st in batches, in 4 or 5 batches, and will probably mean the complete ruin of the DNC. The computer hackers have said that we are not Russian, despite what CNN tells you. We already have inside information that Obama is going to literally start a war with Russia to divert attention from the crimes that are in the emails. In addition to the emails said to be released, the hackers may have 6 videos, one of which allegedly shows Hillary personally slandering and being racist against a female African American. They also say the hatred on her face for the African American race will be worse than 100 Trump tapes. In another video they claim, which will be released, it shows felonies being committed by the Hillary campaign, the kind that make voter fraud look like a jaywalking ticket, including bribes and threats to control media and election officials. So it's going to be pretty heavy duty. So much truth, so little time. Anonymous is now promising to leak a video of Bill Clinton raping a 13-year-old on Jeffrey Epstein's Lolita Island. And they're going to do it right before the election to prevent any parachuting of Joe Biden or Pocahontas. Of course, on record, we know that Bill Clinton has boarded his Lolita Express jet 26 times. Yes, folks, Bill and Hillary always take the high road. And, of course, Mr. Trump's campaign is on top of all the leaks. He's on them like white on rice. There's another email that shows John Podesta asking, what do we do with the back and forth emails between Hillary and Obama? John, what you do with them is you bleach them, okay? Just to give you a heads up. The Trump campaign issued a press release. It's a statement on continued Clinton collusion with the federal government. Quote, today's disclosure that the Clinton campaign was coordinating with the State Department over the release of Hillary Clinton's Benghazi-related email shows an unacceptable level of collusion between the Obama administration and her campaign. Signed, Jason Miller. Let's take a break here. I'll come back to the leaks in a minute. Let's talk a little bit about the second debate, okay, that 3-on-1. It was so obvious, so obvious. Pat Buchanan said it best. He said it was a single best debate performance in the history of presidential debates. So what more can you add to that? Really, nothing. I agree 1,000%. The gloves came off and the brass knuckles came on. He knows that it's a race to the bottom, okay? It's going to be one smear campaign after another here. We have also word that he has shut down his Virginia campaign headquarters. This is prime Tim Kaine territory. And so Donald will let Virginia slide. We're going to have to start looking at the electoral map here, okay? For me, this is part of our problem, part of the systemic problem, the Electoral College. And we also need to get rid of the two-party system. Back in 2012, okay, RNC, the GOP, spent close to $42 million on Mitt Romney's campaign for advertising. Right now, Mr. Trump has raised $168 million for the RNC. And word is, through Alex Jones, that the RNC has not spent $1, not even a dime, on Mr. Trump's advertising campaign. They've kept it all for down-ticket campaigns. So, folks, you know, when you think about all this, it just sickens you. And another thing that's going to really sicken you is that the emails now show that back in 2008, when Obama was being sworn into office, his whole administration, the whole cabinet, was selected by the banks, by Citigroup, Citibank. That's all coming out. And I'll get back to the GOP in a minute. I need to put on my brass knuckles first here. I had a suspicion from the get-go of this election, right from last year, that the skank, this Alinsky sociopath, was running for president to mitigate the impact of her corruption. Basically to skate free. I mean, how can you possibly point the finger at someone who is running for president, right? So what better con, what better scam than run for president like she is? No one would suspect anything, especially when she has bought off Comey and Lynch, the GOP and the DNC. And I do agree, I think we all agree with Mr. Trump, that assigning a special prosecutor to bring Hillary Clinton to justice is just a given. And Mr. Trump will see to it when he's elected. Did you notice Hillary's body language as he was saying that he was going to go after her? She got up from her stool, started walking away from Mr. Trump like an animal that is being hunted down. And her response was very classic. Classic Hillary Alinsky answer. Here's what she said.
You get a subpoena, and after getting the subpoena, you delete 33,000 emails. And then you acid wash them, or bleach them, as you would say, a very expensive process. So we're going to get a special prosecutor, and we're going to look into it, because you know what? People have been, their lives have been destroyed for doing 1/5 of what you've done. And it's a disgrace. And honestly, you ought to be ashamed of yourself.
Secretary Clinton, I want to follow up on that. I'm going to let you talk about email.
Because everything he just said is absolutely false.
So this Alinsky high priestess has run out of lies. You know, her tactic of deny, obfuscate no longer works. She buried herself in her own crap, basically. This woman is so full of it, it's now backed up all the way up to her eyebrows. And that's why that debate fly landed over there. Mr. Trump's one-liner in that debate just knocked it out of the ballpark. Because you'd be in jail will be etched in history. That was the knockout punch we all had been waiting for, and it's now official. Hillary is now running to stay out of jail. By now, you know, her donors, they must know she's damaged, that she's decaying goods, and the question is, how will they play her? And what is their plan B? In a rare interview, the criminals who are pulling all the strings behind the curtains, who have been raping this nation with endless wars, sometimes they pull the curtains back and they give us a glimpse of how they operate. And I'm bringing here George W. Bush into the picture because we need to see this from a broader perspective. Listen to George Bush in 2007, okay? He tells the whole world that nations are basically hijacked to enrich the elite at the top. Here he is.
One of the problems, not specifically on this issue, just in general, let's put it this way, money trumps peace sometimes. In other words, commercial interests are very powerful interests throughout the world. And part of the issue in convincing people to put sanctions on a specific country is to convince them that it's in the world's interest that they forego their own financial interests.
So this, folks, is our reality. And it just cannot continue any longer. And Mr. Trump has really upped the ante. He not only wants to fix the corruption in government, he also told the drug cartels that their days are numbered. Oi, oi, oi. Talk about a lion going on a rampage. I mean, good Lord. Good Lord. This is like God working through him, folks. I think God, well, not I think, I know God knew Mr. Trump personally before he was born and assigned him a very special mission. Just like he knew Job and Jeremiah and every one of us. Because life on earth started in heaven with God. Okay, that's my worldview. Donald has also disclosed speeches where the high priestess tells a group of bankers that ISIS might infiltrate the refugee flow. But the MSM are only focusing on the softer issues like offending the Catholics. And in one lake, Hillary refers to Muslims as sand niggers. Now let's see how that rubs off on the ISIS refugees coming into this country. They may take offense to her remarks. I mean, these people have feelings too. And they could use our American laws and call for their own safe space. They may call up ADL. And a New York Times reporter emailed Jennifer Palmieri, Hillary's communications director, about a story he was writing on Hillary. And the reporter told Palmieri, you could veto what you didn't want. So, folks, again, what else is new, right? The collusion is systemic, it's embedded. And I could also take you down the path where I show you all the family ties between the White House staff and media top executives. It'll make you puke. Now, I want to play an audio clip here from InfoWars. I want to hear Paul Joseph Watson give you his 2 bits.
And the Clinton mouthpiece media have barely even reported on it. In one email sent by Hillary surrogate Bill Ivey to Clinton campaign manager John Podesta, Ivey brags about how the left has sought to maintain political power by producing, quote, an unaware and compliant citizenry. This is beyond arrogant.
The leaks, folks, will keep pouring until the whole dam bursts. But we shouldn't go to sleep. We have to stay awake because they could find a reason to cancel the election and keep Obama in for a 3rd term. There would be riots in the streets. Hell would be unleashed on America. Martial law. And Soros would have won. They can foment anything. Anything is possible. If the Department of Homeland Security is monitoring the vote, anything is possible. We just learned that the Pentagon and the FBI are going to cooperate with Homeland Security to ensure the election is fair. Okay? As if that's supposed to give us the people some comfort. As if we don't know that there's factions in the FBI and the Pentagon that are backing Hillary. Now, one thing we need to realize, If we lose this election, it'll be more than a huge waste of time, money, and energy for us, and especially for Mr. Trump. First of all, it is a privilege for all of us to be engaged in this battle. Okay? It's a sacrifice, yes, but it's so important. I will hold my head up high if we lose, because I know we will have done our very best to win America back. There's a lot more at stake here. It'll be the end of America if Hillary gets in. Let's get that straight. This is not just about a wasted effort. This is for all the marbles. And now there's leaked emails pointing to Hillary using 3 servers, not just one private server, perhaps even more than 3 servers. So again, one lie piled up on top of another lie. Here's a zinger that was tweeted by somebody. It says, so you libs and media fools are upset that Trump said some bad words, but you're okay with adult men using the ladies' room with your wives and daughters. That's a special kind of stupid. My latest meme to underscore the hypocrisy of both the GOP and the Democrats depicts a long line of women in burqas chained to each other. And the caption is, Hillary is funded by Saudi Arabia, where female genital mutilation and slavery are the norm. And the Democrats worry about Trump's comments. So you can see all my memes by going to @zip90210.club, and you can download my free booklet called Millennial America, Reinventing Democracy, by going to myamerica.win. And on Twitter, you can find me at zip90210. I'll come back to the leaks in a minute. Okay, there's a whole lot more. Regarding the FBI investigation, okay, in my opinion, my humble opinion, and the opinion of many other Americans, we've had too many Mirandized witnesses who are granted immunity after evidence has been destroyed willfully and after subpoenas were issued. Witnesses like Cheryl Mills and Hillary's IT guys, Paul Gambetta and Brian Poliano. It appears as though the marching orders from the White House have been to coordinate the semblance of an investigation in which Hillary Clinton appears to be investigated but is never prosecuted. My opinion on this investigation is as follows. When it comes to our national security, the survival and safety of the American people, any suspected enemies, both foreign and domestic, should not be given any kind of immunity or preferential treatment. Targets appearing before a congressional committee to testify on matters pertaining to our national security, if they choose not to cooperate but instead keep pleading the fifth, should be treated as enemy combatants, and if need be, should be waterboarded to yank the truth out of them as a last resort. But at the very least, polygraph them. And I believe that is part of the statute regarding high-level intelligence assets like Hillary and her IT guys. A polygraph would definitely be in order. Now back to the leaks. An email written 3 days before the incident points to Justice Scalia's assassination. The code phrase that they used was wet works, and it was written to John Podesta. Whoever was writing it said he was all in for the wet works. And you can Google wet works. Now that particular tweet has been scrubbed off Twitter. I tried to look for it in WikiLeaks, and I still can't find it. Okay, that's marginal. It's tangential to what we're talking about here on Hillary. Now on to Paul Ryan. Can you believe this guy? According to Paul Nealon, who is running against him, he says the plot was to give the election to Hillary so that Ryan could run in 2020. In his dreams, this toilet bowl brush needs to be recalled as defective. Now, Mr. Trump has already said He doesn't care about his endorsement. He would not even fight alongside Ryan in a foxhole. And I totally agree. Ryan is a traitor. End of story. Mr. Trump also tweeted, "It is so nice that the shackles have been taken off me, and I can now fight for America the way I want." Great, great tweet. He also said, "Our campaign represents a true existential threat like they haven't seen before. This is not simply another 4-year election. This is a crossroads in the history of our civilization that will determine whether or not we, the people, reclaim control of our government." I've been saying that from day one. From day one, my very first meme was of Mr. Trump standing in front of an eagle saying, "This is America." And behind him, behind the eagle, there's a wall, and then you have all the candidates, and behind them, there's a curtain. Behind the curtain, you have the globalists. Okay. So I've been saying that since day one, and I can't wait to see how he and God in tandem clean house. Now, I want to direct my comments to the masterminds of this Trump ambush. I want to direct my comments to the GOP jellyfish that kept him hemmed in. Yeah, I want to talk to you, spineless GOP slime, who have never attacked Hillary Clinton or Obama but have rubber-stamped his policies. You've had every chance handed to you on a silver platter to attack Hillary and Obama. Instead, you're attacking Trump. You are slime that just keeps swirling around the drain on your way to the fetid cesspool below. Your time is up. The party of Lincoln that you hijacked has just defecated you. Because where were you when that snake that changes its skin on a weekly basis had to admit to committing adultery? What's his name? You know who I'm talking about. That Canadian. You know, the globalist Trojan horse with sealed records, who boasted on national TV of his removable tattoo of Winston Churchill, which just by sheer coincidence matched the tattoo of his mistress, Amanda Carpenter. What's his name? You know, the guy whose wife works for Goldman Sachs. Help me out here. You know, the guy who had to get Carly Fiorina to defend his adultery on national TV and then put her up as VP. He was all over the tabloids. You know, the same putz who Boehner called Lucifer in the flesh. It'll come to me. You know, he wouldn't endorse Trump in the RNC convention, and now he's backing Trump to save his hide in the Senate. It'll come to me, you know, but anyway, his name doesn't really matter that much. Here's my point. Where were you, GOP spineless rhinos, when the whole world was pointing fingers at this turd for his adulterous relationship with a woman who posed sitting on a bed with a condom by her side? Let me tell you, this was an ambush hatched very likely by Papa Bush. Remember how he gestured in one debate? He slit his throat in a gesture. Even Reince Priebus was probably in on this kabuki theater. And now Reince, he's all smiles, you know, all smiles after Trump bounced back. Oh, what a beautiful smile Reince Priebus has. I don't think I've seen anyone more photogenic than Reince Priebus. And that name, along with that face, I think would do wonders on some packaging. Packaging for rat poison. I can just see Jebby and Mitty on the phone coordinating. Right, Mittens? Because who else would want to get more even with Trump than Mr. 47% himself, Mr. Cardboard, who makes Al Gore look animated? Who more than the backstabbing Judas traitor, neocon, globalist corporate raider who gives Mormons a bad name? The guy who begged for Trump's endorsement in 2012, the same guy who profusely praised Trump on stage after Trump endorsed him in 2012, You guys are all done. And Beck is now saying that the decent thing to do is to back Hillary. Glenn, you already jumped off the cliff. Now you're slitting your own throat on the way down. You know, I created a meme a few months ago, when the primaries were just getting underway. I put up a picture of Donald Trump standing behind a majestic lion symbolizing the American people with a caption, "Are you tired of the old jackass in elephant routine?" It's coming true, folks. That meme is coming true. Decent people, both on the Democratic and Republican side, have had it with the corruption. And the American people are now on the prowl. Let's zoom in on Soros, Georgie Schwartz. Soros, now you're going to activate Plan F, G, H. What are you going to do? To keep the rigged, corrupt system in play for another 8 years? Are you going for an election steal? You think you're going to be able to pull this off? Because, you know, we do have Amendments 9 and 10. They could kick in any time, giving the people their rights and powers, which have been absconded by the government. And then there's that Second Amendment. The Second Amendment. George, do you really want to steal the election and activate 2, 9, and 10? You really want to capsize the boat? Because, man, you know, of course, you know, the Second Amendment wasn't designed for hunting down weasels in Vermont or possums in Virginia or rats in Wisconsin. It was designed to give the people power to defend themselves from a government that is infested by roaches that encroach the people with anti-American agendas and put themselves out as the employers of the people. You're not the employers. The people are your employers. That's what the War of Independence was all about. Dang. Georgie Schwartz. And you figured you are God and can take America down. Now, folks, I'm not advocating a civil war, but there are some professional trolls out there on Twitter. You can spot a troll a mile away, okay? They have this egg profile or a picture of an animal. It's never a human face. They have very few followers, and the sole purpose of their existence is to trigger you, okay? There are trolls out there who are pushing and preparing for a civil war, guaranteed. They have professionally designed memes that include captions like, "Storm clouds are forming, get ready, because we are going to play us a mean and nasty game of Defend America." Soros is at work, folks. He wants an American spring, and maybe, just maybe, all of the players are in on it, but they want to see how Plan B plays itself out. If Plan B doesn't work out, they'll go to Plan C, etc. They know Hillary will become more damaged goods with time. That's a given. But Soros, don't even think about stealing the election. Don't even think about it. You can pull all your shenanigans on the Ukraine and Britain from a distance with impunity, but not while you're in America. And where are you going to go to next? You know, Putin wants you dead or alive. Because when the people have lost everything and have nothing left to lose, like Gerald Celente has often said, the people lose it. And maybe, you know, just maybe that's the kind of mindset you want us to be boxed into. I won't put it past you. Because records now show, obviously, that you have funded numerous election manipulations around the world. Numerous. And folks, just for the record, okay, so that you know I'm not BSing here, I want you to listen to George Soros speak.
How worried are you by the popularity of Donald Trump?
Well, Donald Trump is, I actually listened to the debates. We discovered the Achilles heel of Western civilization, and they know that their days are numbered. Because there is no alternative except terrorism.
angst or fears about voters, and what are the policies that the voters in the U.S. should be focusing on?
Well, here I have to confess to a little bit of bias. So you take that into account. I think it's going to lead to a landslide for Donald Trump in the popular vote, not in the electoral vote, because their paid political announcements will have a big role, and so the electoral thing will be closer. But the popular vote will be a landslide, because we are a small minority of extremists, and so we are all moving in that direction. And while I don't think that Donald Trump has any chance of being elected.
But you think Hillary Clinton is a done deal?
Yeah. And I do think actually she's the one who's most qualified. But
so Soros, you know that comment you made about America, that your life's culminating work will be to destroy America? I wouldn't repeat that in public if I were you. Your best bet is to pack your suitcases and teleport to Mars. I have a gentleman by the name of Andrew Bashago who will be able to guide you. And how does the MSM or the GOP respond to Georgie Schwartz, their master? All right, let's move on. Ground zero, election fraud. An undercover camera exposes voter fraud as a staffer for Hillary Clinton confessed that ripping up voter registration forms is okay if they are for Republicans. He says that's fine, you can rip them. Now, I would hope that the very honorable FBI agents who are the backbone of our judicial system in our society, I would hope that they walk out en masse and protest before we turn into a banana republic here. And as day follows night, I know that Mr. Trump would hire them back in a heartbeat after he's elected. I know pensions are on the line, but we got to get this house cleaned out, starting at the top. This is your time. This is the time when we need the whistleblowers, we need to make sacrifices, when we need heroes to do their thing. But you FBI agents, if you're worried about your pensions, just do the right thing. Everything will fall into place. Just don't become unwilling accessories. Let the chips fall where they may. We need to arrest Hillary Clinton for racketeering, perjury, election fraud, espionage, obstruction of justice, bribery, and treason. The American people want justice. Enough is enough. Because we all know that Jason Chaffetz and Comey almost certainly conferred in sealed chambers as to how to play out this kabuki theater. We know what's up, Jason. Okay, you smiled once too many times during those hearings, like you were some kind of a actor in a play and you were the star. These were very serious proceedings where everything is on the line, and you went off character. You're a bad actor. Because if Hillary goes down, Obama certainly comes down, crumbling down. He knew all along she was using a private server. And even if he didn't know, it was his duty to inquire and ascertain that her server was secure, because as it is, his name appears on a lot of emails. And the funniest leak of all, okay, is one where Huma Abedin, who was never cleared, by the way, by the State Department, okay, she had no clearances, she had no business emailing back and forth with Hillary, is concerned in one email that having Obama named in the emails is a security risk should the emails be hacked. I kid you not. I kid you not. Doesn't get any more ludicrous than that. Do you really think that the American people believe for a moment that all Bill Clinton did with Loretta Lynch was talk about golf and grandkids in an airplane? We are led to believe, okay, that Bill's plane was taxiing on the tarmac getting ready for takeoff. And Bill was told that Lynch was in her airplane. So he asks his pilot to abort the takeoff and turn around because he suddenly had this urge, this need to talk about grandkids and golf. He could have picked up his phone and talked about the kids and golf. He could have texted her. It takes only about 30 seconds. Come on, folks, snap out of it, okay? So Bill gets off the plane. He walks over to Loretta's plane and speaks to her in code, I'm sure, to make her understand in no uncertain terms that she's good as dead if Hillary gets indicted. Folks, wake up, okay? Enough. Here's the keystone case against Hillary. And I've said this over and over again. We all know it. It's worth repeating. Her role as Secretary of State included the title of Original Classification Authority. When it came to classified intel, she was the high priestess of classified intelligence. She alone could arbitrate, designate, assign, sort, and classify intelligence into one of four headings: SAP, Special Access Programs, Top Secret, Secret, and Confidential. You know, every student in elementary school should know this stuff by now. And Hillary was no debutante when it comes to the position of Secretary of State. It's not like she was a newly hatched, Elizabeth Warren with egg and feathers dripping all over her, who needed to be trained and tutored on how to perform her tasks. No feathers or eggs on Hillary. She came prepared, pre-trained, primed. Why? Because as senator for the state of New York, Hillary was also a member of the Senate Armed Services Committee and a member of the Transformation Advisory Group, which is an expert panel that advises all branches of the military on issues like security. So who is she trying to fool? Well, she's trying to fool the American people. She wants us to believe that she doesn't know what the letter C stands for. And the FBI is buying this crap. It's been turned into a joke. Clearly, there has been obstruction of justice and destruction of evidence. The joke is over. It's over because, you see, there's another leak that just came out. Julian Assange came on video and showed us emails with her signature on the email and the heading C on it. He says there's thousands of those kinds of emails signed by Hillary. So Hillary, you are done. You are so done. You're like crispy critter. And one more thing. One of her other lies that I keep bringing up over and over and over again because it is so blatant, so obvious. It is so in your face. And the sad part is no one picked it up. Or everyone was instructed not to pick it up, not to get it. So here it is one more time. I'm blue in the face repeating it. She told the American people on television over 22 different separate times that she never sent or received classified emails. How many times have you seen her say that? In the 4 years as Secretary of State, not once did I send or receive classified emails. So what were you doing for 4 years? That was your damn job. So the people believe her because if the media doesn't make any waves, if nobody challenges Hillary, then she must be squeaky clean, right? How can you possibly buy this BS? It was her job as Secretary of State to email classified information. It was her job to receive classified information. It was her job to designate information as SAP, Top Secret, Secret, or Confidential. That was her job. So why hasn't Trey Gowdy or James Comey grilled her on that one point? Why hasn't anybody brought this up? See, this is part of the Alinsky playbook, okay? The bigger the lie, the easier the chumps will swallow it, hook, line, and sinker. Duping the American people is part of their agenda, and this is no longer a conspiracy. Okay, there's another leak that reveals their agenda is to create a complacent, compliant population. Period. You got to wake up, America. Where was the GOP? Where's the MSM? Now back to Comey. Comey, he's so entangled in this, James Comey, pray tell why, in your depositions, were you never asked to explain your tenure as director of that infamous HSBC bank from 2013 to 2016? Why don't you let the American people in on this? Why don't you explain that HSBC funds the Clinton Foundation? You think just maybe there's a conflict of interest there? And let's add to that, because HSBC in 2012 was embroiled in a monumental investigation for money laundering and tax evasion. The network of corruption around the world was so extraordinary that if HSBC was to have been indicted, it would have brought the entire financial system around the world plummeting. It was another case of too big to fail, too big to jail. The bank instead was fined $18 billion and all the executives were exonerated of any wrongdoing. Why is nobody talking about that? Why don't you talk about that, Jason Chavez, when you interrogate Comey and Loretta Lynch? Especially since the attorney from the Department of Justice who was assigned to this HSBC case was none other than Loretta Lynch. It was she who gave HSBC a pass. And why, pray tell, was not a word mentioned about the HSBC debacle and Loretta Lynch's involvement during her confirmation hearings in 2015? Where were you then, GOP? Where were you then, media? I know where you were. You were offshore inspecting your offshore bank accounts. And so the entire GOP is complicit. You are all accessories and should be tried, convicted, lined up, and executed or jailed. Enough is enough. And as for the Fourth Estate, the mainstream media, you are also complicit. You should be tried and convicted as accessories. Because if it wasn't for the WikiLeaks, we would all be in the dark still. Let's get real here, okay? The chances that Hillary has been hacked by your enemies are 100% certain. And once you're hacked, you become a liability to the nation because you and the entire nation can be blackmailed. So, why aren't you investigating and reporting on this? Mainstream media, GOP. Instead, you are sidetracking on sidebar issues like the Catholics being offended. And notice how Hillary keeps saying, I was not hacked. Get real, people. She has been hacked. I predict that Russia will bury her when they release their hacked emails. There's more leaks, okay, that have been dumped. We now know that the Clintons have been funded by Saudi Arabia and that ISIS is funded by Saudi Arabia and Qatar. Game over there. We know that Hillary wants nothing to do with the LGBTQ community, or I should say LGBTQY community. She wants open borders, a hemispheric common market. Of course, we also know she wants TPP. There are emails that allude to ETIs, okay, extraterrestrial intelligence. That could be referring to George Soros. I'm not sure there. There's collusion by the DNC to sabotage Trump. There are leaks that Hillary is coached and given cues on when to smile. Mr. Trump has already talked about that in one of his rallies. There's leaks that the White House and the State Department went on damage control during the FBI investigation. And of course we know that Obama is using a code name in Hillary's emails. And now there's a leak that Univision is advising Hillary and that ABC has given carte blanche to Hillary to do as she pleases with the programming. And what do we hear from the GOP? And by the way, folks, there is a policy in place by the Department of Justice that any interview conducted by the FBI must be recorded. So it now has been leaked that Hillary's lawyers told the Department of Justice that Hillary would only be interviewed by the FBI if she was not going to be recorded. Case closed. You gotta wake up, America. I keep saying we have to wake up. Here's one more. Eric Schmidt, chairman of Google, and Google also owns Twitter. He has been collaborating with John Podesta, and what they're doing is they're gaslighting the American people. Google the term gaslighting. It's basically putting up a false matrix. Okay, it's duping the people with a false narrative. Her public policies now obviously do not reflect her private views. That shouldn't come as a surprise. Okay, any politician will promise you the world, and then when they get in, they'll do just the opposite. Just look at the Nobel Peace Prize piece of work here that we have in the White House. So, we learn also that Hillary discussed openly with a group of Canadian leaders on the sources and methods that were used to entrap and kill Osama bin Laden in 2011. You don't do that. Okay? You do not disclose your sources and methods or discuss them or allude to them. It violates security protocols. It jeopardizes our national security. So the time for nice is over. America does no longer want to be nice. Okay, we're like a prowling lion, starved prowling lion. We don't want to be entertained. We don't want to be shamed. We want justice. Enough of the kabuki theater. And as far as Mr. Trump's, colorful remarks, here's what I have to say about this, and this is from a biblical perspective, okay? You see, when God appeared to Isaiah in the Old Testament to call him to be a prophet of Israel, Isaiah kind of had to struggle with it. I will read you from Isaiah chapter 6, verse 5. Here's what Isaiah said. Woe to me, I cried, I am ruined, for I am a man of unclean lips, and I live among a people of unclean lips, and my eyes have seen the King, the Lord Almighty. So, obviously Isaiah had a foul mouth, but God still called him. So, if God can call Isaiah to be a prophet, he can certainly anoint Donald Trump to be President of the United States of America, one nation under God. Mr. Trump, we pray for you, and if America is with you and God is with you, who can be against you? I just hope that if the crap hits the fan and the election is stolen or canceled, you will still lead us. And I also want to introduce here something from Benjamin Fulford, who was a bureau chief for Forbes magazine in Tokyo back in the day. He says, the United States presidential election due for November 8th will be canceled, and instead there will be war crime tribunals held. Sources both in the Pentagon and the CIA say. The excuse for canceling the election will be the resignation of one of the presidential candidates. And here's the raw intel from the CIA. Quote, CIA agent says there is now a 90% probability that the elections will be postponed. I asked my contact in D.C. why, and his answer was, quote, you can't have an election with one candidate. And I asked him which one will be removed, and his reply was, quote, I'm not allowed to tell you. Let's just say that Obama will make the announcement very soon, end of quote. Moving on, I hope you find this compelling. In the UK, as you know, they have the same problem we have here with the mainstream media, and you can only get the truth sometimes from a tabloid. So the Daily Star dropped this bombshell. Russia urgently recalls officials' families living abroad as World War III threat looms. That's the headline. And as I reported in my last podcast, Russia has deployed 240,000 emergency personnel and 50,000 emergency vehicles and equipment in an unprecedented civil defense exercise. Why are they doing that? Okay, that's a lot of money. It's a very costly operation. They're doing it because they want to get prepared. Civil defense is a high priority with the Russians. And what do we get here? We get zero. Zero warnings. And that's why I keep telling you, you got to stock up on food and water, batteries, all the essentials, toilet paper, you name it. Have it in case something happens, because you never know. It's better to be safe than sorry. Because Mr. Putin, he's no dupe. He understands the globalists, okay? He understands that it's not Americans that are after him, that it's the globalists that have hijacked America, that want to demonize him. And he won't give in to their blackmail and their pressures, especially over Russia's military offensive in Syria. One more question here before I leave. One more question. I want to know, okay? I think as Americans we all want to know, and perhaps Mr. Trump can ask Hillary this question in the debates. And the question would be, how did you and Bill end up with a net worth of $150 million? What products did you sell? What services were you rendering? And also, what other former president has ended up with this kind of net worth? That's all, folks. Stay safe. God bless America, and God bless Mr. Trump. Till next time.